Hello, families. I'm going to be reading you a story today about a fish. This is what the fish looks like. Ooh, I think that the illustrator, the person who drew the pictures, did a really good job of making that fish look bumpy. Can you see that? Not only did the illustrator draw these fish, but he also wrote the words, because that's what an author does. That person is the same person, Andrew Clemens Yoshi, and he also he drew these fish. Do you see the difference between this fish and these fish? Yeah, he's bumpy and big. And these fish are more colorful or even maybe more beautiful. This story is called Big Al. Big Al is a very friendly fish. He's kind to everybody, but he doesn't look very kind, so he doesn't have a lot of friends. So he's lonely. If you're lonely, you don't have anybody. It kind of reminds me, and I make a connection with our other story that we read at our houses called Yo Yes, and how this boy right here was kind of lonely in the beginning of the story. If you don't remember that, at the beginning he was lonely, then he was happy because he had a friend. So what do you think Big Al can do to have people like him? I wonder if you said, be helpful. I wonder if you said, give him a compliment. Maybe maybe they don't have anybody to play with or push them on the swing. Maybe Big Al could do that. I don't know. Let's read and find out. Big Al. In the wide blue sea, there was a very friendly fish. His name was Big Al. You could not find a nicer friend. I love how the illustrator of this story drew this picture like this, because the big wide open sea and then Big Al and nobody around him, to illustrate that he is lonely by himself. Big Al was very, very scary. Look at his eyes and look at his teeth. He does look kind of scary. Ooh. Other fish seemed to have at least one friend. Some had many friends, but Al, he had none, nothing, zero. He did not really blame the other fish. How could he expect little fish to trust a great big fish with eyes and skin and teeth like his? So Big Al was lonely and cried big salty tears in the big salty sea. Have you ever been to an ocean before? An ocean is a far, far away. It is so far it would take you hours, even days to drive there. An ocean has salt water. They have fish in it like we don't around here in Michigan. They have sharks too. But Big Al really wanted friends, so he worked really hard at it. First, he tried wrapping himself up in seaweed. He thought it was a great disguise, but no one else did. Who wants to stop and talk to a floating plant that has big, sharp teeth? Ooh, he tried to solve the problem, didn't he? He's pretty smart to think of something like that. But people still didn't want to play with him because guess what? He looked like seaweed, a plant. Then he thought that if he puffed himself up like this, round, the other fish would laugh and see how clever, clever is another word for smart, and silly he could be. All they saw was how big he got, and that frightened them away. Kind of looks like a balloon, doesn't he? Very early one morning, Big Al went down to the bottom, flapped and wiggled himself into the sand until he was almost covered up. He looked much smaller, clever. But other fish came near. Big Al talked and joked with them, and they had a delightful time. But then one scratchy little grain of sand got stuck in his gills, and he, achoo! When the cloud of sand cleared away, all the fish were gone. Another clever idea, but he sneezed, so he could see his true self. Big Al even changed his color one day so he would look like he belonged in a school of tiny fish passing by. He bubbled along with them for a while, laughing and feeling like he was just one of the crowd. But he was so big and clumsy that when all of the tiny fish darted to the left and then quickly back to the right, Big Al just plowed straight ahead. He went bumping and thumping right into the little fish. Before he could say, "Excuse me," they all were gone. And he was all alone again, sadder than ever. He is one smart fish coming up with all of those ideas. I just wish that he would have more friends, because he is kind, and everybody is just not giving him a chance. Just when Big Al was starting to be sure that he would never have a single friend, something happened. Look at this picture before I go on. Did you see all of those fish got captured in a net? A fisherman was trying to take them. He was floating along, sadly watching some of the smaller fish, and was wishing he could come closer to them. As he watched, a net dropped down silently from above. Silent means they couldn't hear it. And in an instant, they were caught. This reminds me of a movie. Does it remind you of a movie? What do you think? Maybe a Finding Nemo? Have you seen that movie? It happens in Finding Nemo too. Think about what they did in the book. Let's see what Big Al does. Big Al forgot all about being lonely, and he forgot all about being sad, and his eyes bulged out bigger and rounder than ever. And with a mighty flop of his tail, he opened his mouth and charged straight at the net. The net was strong, but Big Al was stronger. He ripped right through it, and all the little fish rushed out through the hole. Ooh, not the same as Finding Nemo. They all pulled down. He went straight through the net with his teeth. Good thing he had all those teeth, huh? But when Big Al tried to turn around and go out the hole, he got stuck and tangled up in the net. Big Al was stuck. Oh no. What do you think Big Al can do? What do you think the other fish could do? Do you have an idea? I sure hope that they help him. I hope that they see, right, that he is stuck and just don't leave him because they're scared of him. They have to be kind and help, I hope. The net went higher and higher towards the bright surface of the sea, and the little fish watched Big Al as he disappeared above them. When the little fish was able to speak again, all they talked about was a huge, wonderful fish that had saved them. He was kind. How great it is to be free, but what a shame that that big fella had been captured. Captured is another word for caught. There's Big Al. Just then, there was a tremendous crashing, splashing above them, and the small fish darted away. Was it a net again? Not at all. It was Big Al. He got himself free. Oh, I wish the little fish would help him, but at least he got out. Those fishermen took one look at Big Al and threw him right back in the ocean. Even the fishermen didn't like the looks of him. And now there was one huge, puffy, scary, fierce-looking fish in the sea who has more friends than anyone else. Who has more friends than anybody else in this book at the end? Who? You're right. Big Al has all of these friends because he was kind to them. And there he is. He's bigger than the rest, and they're all swimming along with him. I am so glad that they decided to be friends and give him a chance. Just because he was bumpy and had big teeth, it doesn't mean that he was scary. Sometimes things are new to us too, just like Big Al, or just like his friends. They were kind of scared of him. I like that story. Have a great day.